It's it's always weird. It's kind of like, do you ever stop to think you don't actually bite down, you bite up?
That's absolutely true.
Your top doesn't move, your bottom does. So you can't bite down on something, you can only
It's
bite
very
up.
true, actually.
Just throwing it out there.
All right, welcome to the Trampled Underfoot podcast show. Your hosts are Mark Lindsay and Eloy Escajeda. What's going on, Mark?
Oh man, just pondering life, the universe, and everything, as we are so wont to do here on the world's best podcast, the Trampled Underfoot podcast.
That's right. And don't you forget it.
Hmm.
Um,
It's been a slow week for me with this stuff still going on. Being as medicated as I am, I can't drive. I can't run power equipment. So I'm just kind of, what was it, John Lennon's song? I'm just sitting here watching the wheels go round and round. That's me. But I'm getting to the point to where I'm bored out of my skull.
how's that though?
Well, it's been this way since April 24th. So this is, let me look it up. Let's make sure. Um, this is day 119 of all this stuff, starting in April 24th. No, excuse me, 118. 118. So, and I can expect to go up to a minimum of day 180. And I tell you, man, this is no joke. It's no fun. You don't want this.
No one wants none of that.
Nope.
The idea
So
is comfort, not uncomfort or
right.
discomfort.
Yeah. Well, we're paying the price for our parents' ignorance all those years ago. When what I'm dealing with, for those who don't know, I'm dealing with shingles, and shingles is caused by the virus that causes chickenpox. So if you've had chickenpox, the virus that causes this is in you. Um, when I was a kid growing up, chickenpox was one of those things that every kid got. There was no vaccine for it at the time. It was one of those things that every kid got. And in fact, if one kid in the neighborhood got it, parents would bring their kids over and they'd play and expose the other kids to chickenpox just to get it over with. So it's over, done, behind them, and now we can move on with life.
I remember that. I remember when I had it in elementary school,
Mm-hmm.
maybe first or second grade, one of those.
Yep.
And I remember my mom would put that pink stuff on my skin,
Calamine lotion. Yep.
and I would be itchy.
Yep. Oh,
And
yeah.
yeah, so that spread through town.
Mm-hmm. Yep. So now we're paying for our parents' ignorance. So I've said it before and I'll say it again. If you had chicken pox and you're 50 years old or older, get the vaccine. You don't want this. Get the vaccine. It's 2 shots. Boom, one. Wait 3 months. Boom, go in for the other. Linda's about ready to go for her second. Yeah, she can go for her second now. So we need to get it done. You don't even have to go to the doctor. You can go to the pharmacist and they'll give it to you there. So you don't want this. I see we got Jim Dockrell in the crowd up
Welcome, Doc.
there.
And he's a
Old
brand new
reliable.
grandpa, I think.
Good day, eh? Oh, you see a brand new grandpa? Well, congratulations, Jim. Well, welcome to this side of the hill.
Or I think maybe he's. I don't know if I inserted the word new. He's got new grandchildren. I don't know if.
Okay. Okay. Another new grandchild. Well, it's going to take a little bit for Steve answers. Can you tell that we're just kind of padding this out, that we really don't have a topic?
I have
Uh,
I have tons of topics.
Twins. All right. Overachiever. Man.
Actually, with the twins thing.
Hmm.
So my I'll mention this since we're so my well, I can't even say so. In the 1600s, there was an Escajado that had twins,
Hmm.
and when you go back that far, it's kind of difficult to find all the people that existed at that time
Yeah.
with your name in particular. In this case, in that area, in that place. So now we have two twins,
Hmm.
and each had families, and or actually two brothers. One of the brothers married twice
Hmm.
and had two, and somewhere in there were twins. Okay, I don't want to complicate it, but you know the whole thing. Okay,
Yeah.
the point is not that. The point is, uh, I connected with the twin. The point is the effect of as you go in time. N- I don't know if maybe, or I don't know which one of those lines we directly come from. Like one would be an uncle, one would be back in time.
Hmm.
We don't know because between that and my known earliest ancestor, there's a gap with various possibilities because they all share the name.
Hmm.
But even so, that only tells you that we're part of the family. It doesn't tell you if
Yeah.
father, uncle, cousin, or whatever.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
it's a
Yeah.
little bit of a difficult thing to figure out without an actual document saying, "Hey, look, this is the son of," and so
Hmm.
on.
Yeah. 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 Especially if they were identical twins.
Yeah, so
Man.
that kind of thing happens where
Hmm.
twins appear, and now you have that sort of.
Yeah.
I mean, that's sharing the
But
same, a lot of the same.
yeah, a lot of the same DNA. Like there's a case right now in Germany. I don't know what the end result of it's going to be. There was a massive jewelry heist, and they have DNA evidence. You know, there are a pair of twins that are known. They have a reputation. They're known by the cops, and they know one of them was there, but they don't know which one. They can't identify which one. Was it one? Was it the other? Was it both? They don't know. So without solid proof, they can't lock either one of them up because it's a 50-50 odds that they're locking up an innocent person. They know one of them was there, but they don't know which one. So, you know, in high school, I think I was a sophomore, I dated a girl who had a twin sister. I won't, their last name was Pacheco. We'll just put it that way. And I still don't know which one I slept with. They were that close.
Wow.
Yeah. Yeah. So, and they did that twin thing where they would go swap. You know, I witnessed it a couple of times. One of them would be up at, let's say, the concession stand at the theater or something like that, and she'd get some popcorn and really flirt with a guy real heavy. And they always dressed alike. And then she would leave, and then the sister would come in and order the same popcorn and act real cold.
Yeah.
Real cold. The guy's like, man, what'd I do? What'd I say? You know. But she'd walk up, my brother took my popcorn. I need more popcorn. She didn't have a brother, but some fun stuff happened like that. I mean, and it was just, they would just get together and just, they were both evil. Let's just put it that way. It wasn't one good, one bad. They were both evil.
There are slight differences in the faces. I
Hmm.
had a couple of friends that one time I working in the Everglades, there was this guy that I worked with. I had no idea he had a brother or anything or this or that. No idea.
Mhm.
And I got to know him. We worked together. And then just one day down the line, he came in and I said, "Hey, dude, what's going on?" And he turned and looked at me and said, "Hey, man, what's going on?" And I looked at his face, and his face, it was the same guy, but there was something shifted enough that I was like, dude, there's something about. And I tried to explain it to him. I was like, dude, you look a little bit different or something like that. And he just stood there looking, enjoying, I guess, the
Yeah.
situation. But number one, I didn't know what, but I
Mhm.
recognized some difference, and I guess he could have been at least
Mhm.
thinking, oh, so he can see some difference. Like it's
Mhm.
also helpful for the person that's the twin
Yeah.
because it shows that yeah, you're an individual, not just a carbon
Mhm.
copy, pun intended.
Right.
Yeah, there are at least with my encounters
Mhm.
some slight differences.
Well, the one I was dating, there were some differences in personality that were a dead giveaway. And again, we were pretty young. Mama could tell the difference, and they had an older sister. She knew the difference. But I think about half of it, they were playing with me. So I was never 100% certain. But, I'm 16. I don't care.
Yeah, yeah, the twin thing is interesting.
Mm-hmm.
Then there's also lookalikes where people look on, like I've been told on occasion,
Mm-hmm.
dude, there's someone that I've met someone that looks just like you.
Yeah.
And I said, just like me? How much just like me? Dude, just like you. Now, but the problem is with that, there's people that will come close
Mm-hmm.
in some regard, um, but it's a tall order, and without any like comparables.
Mm-hmm.
You don't like I've been compared not recently but when I was thinner and younger to remember that that TV show where it was that guy and girl living together, um, and it was I'm working at it.
Okay.
I'm as I speak I'm trying to
Yeah.
hone it. And the guy was a tutti frutti, um, and they lived somewhere in an apartment in New York. He was a handsome guy. He
Mm-hmm.
played the role of a cutie patootie, but oh, he wasn't in real life, but he was a handsome dude.
Mm-hmm.
And I was mentioned by my family. I said, you know what, you look just like that actor. And I said, what? That plays in that show where the guy's I don't think so. I don't think so. But it was a compliment in terms of that the guy's
Yeah.
a good looking dude. But I couldn't see the difference. I couldn't tell by any stretch that I did.
Yeah.
But to her, I did. And there's other instances of that kind of thing where people will mention, but is it there? Is it there? Is it what's happening? Is it our perception of who we are is and how we look is totally different to other people.
Yeah.
Totally.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Jim Dockrell saying, is it Marty Feldman? No, I don't think so.
I don't know.
Ma-
Um,
Marty Feldman was the guy that played Igor in Young Frankenstein with eyes that went in different directions.
okay. So he's making a joke, like calling
Mm-hmm.
me like a freak of nature.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
no, it wasn't that guy. And I'm not even trying to be what's the word? It's not an ego thing. I'm just recounting the I'm not trying to listen. I'm not trying by any stretch to suggest that I'm saying, hey, hey.
Of course
No,
not. Don't be ridiculous.
I'm not, I'm not even, I'm not even attempting that one. All I'm saying is that in this situation, that's what they said and this and that. I'm not trying
Yeah.
to add some sauce to my
Yeah.
guacamole here.
When The guy that played Marty, Michael J. Fox. When he was, I don't remember the name of the sitcom that he did. Family
Family
Ties. Family Ties. That's what it was. During these Family Ties days, I was compared to him, and I'm like, yeah, no. The only thing we got in common is, the hair, maybe, because I comb my hair similar to that. And we're of the same height and build at the time. Now I'm 217 pounds, and I'm nowhere near that build. So,
a
but
rolling thunder.
it's like I don't see it. There was a documentary. I saw it last year again. I had seen it before. It was a BBC documentary about doppelgangers. Because I don't know about you, but I grew up my entire life hearing that everybody has an exact twin somewhere in the world. Well,
That's what I've heard.
this was cases of people who looked very similar, but were not related at all. And they ended up taking DNA tests to see if they're related. And as it turned out, there were two guys were cousins that they didn't even know were cousins. And they traced this when they did their backgrounds, a little bit of their ancestry. But the others, you're talking about people's perceptions. Some of them I just didn't see. I mean, they had similar hair color and were of similar height and build, but that's it. Their faces look nothing like one another to me. I just didn't see. How could you call these people twins? And they were men and women. But there was a pair of guys that everybody just knew, yeah, these guys are related. These guys have to be brothers. And they were complete absolute strangers, had no common DNA that they could find, no common ancestors that they could find when they matched their DNA. Uh, just, but the shape of their face, the size of their nose, the way they did their hair. These were older guys. They both had real short, like 3 day growth beards that they kept. They were almost the same height. They were within like an inch of each other. They walked the same. They acted the same. They had the same mannerisms. They looked like twins, but they were in no way, shape, or form related. So I think it does come down to human perception. If you want to believe something, you'll see it. You know,
Yeah.
if you
Yeah.
want to see a similarity, well, but some of them is just like, how could they mistake these people for twins? They look nothing alike. You know.
I have two Brazilian cousins.
Hmm.
I don't know if I've told you. They're Escajedo as well,
Hmm.
direct line. But they immigrated instead of, like in our case, my grandfather to Cuba and from there to here, and then
Hmm.
I came around. I came about. In their case, it was from Spain to Brazil, and then
Hmm.
they were born there.
Okay.
Um, and we share a common second great grandfather, Diego Millan
Hmm.
Escajedo Mir. Um, and we double up on Escajedo because Diego Millan's wife, my second great grandmother, was not only a Salmon, but was also an Escajedo on the maternal side. So Diego Millan was an Escajedo on the paternal side, and his wife was an Escajedo on the maternal side. Sandwiched in the middle is the Salmon between
Hmm.
between them, and so we're what I'm getting at is we're inheriting a double dose of Escajedo. Our ancestors on our tree at that
Twice the Escajedo for the same price.
yeah on our tree
Hmm.
we at that moment we have one times less the amount of ancestors as any other person
Yeah.
just from right off. So basically, my Cantabrian
Hmm.
situation narrows into just this block of
Hmm.
Escajedos.
Yeah.
Anyways, they look not like, okay, it's what you said. There's a general about
Hmm.
sort of similarity,
Yeah.
but the details are different. But you'll see the hair, dark
Hmm.
hair, when they grow beards, just like me. Just picture me. Like you could take me
Yeah.
and put me in Brazil,
Hmm.
and I'd be there, or you could put me in Cantabria, and I'd be. So we have the same stamp.
Yeah.
In my case, though, I'm not sure. I think that that's the case for them in Brazil. That their maternal line is Brazilian,
Hmm.
and so then from there
Okay.
it goes back to Portugal or whatever. So that has some. And in
Yeah.
my case, it's Canary Island. So it goes back to a mixture of all the stuff that we've talked about before.
Yeah.
Um, but there's still a similarity. But what I wanted to get to, since you mentioned that, is that two things. One, today I was at the Home Depot
Hmm.
um, looking at some supplies, and I asked for some prices, and two men stopped.
Hmm.
Now, mind you, yes, this is Miami, and yes, there's a uh, overwhelming amount of Cuban heritage here,
Hmm.
but there's also a lot of other types of people here from different backgrounds.
Sure.
It's not just Cuban. It's just
Yeah.
overwhelmingly like you can throw a rock and you'll hit at least a couple of Cubans along the way. Whereas, you know, some other place it would be. The point is that there's other people too. But this one guy that was talking to me,
Hmm.
and I didn't say anything to him, but I looked at him. It was like he was looking back at me, not because we look, not because we're a carbon copy,
Hmm.
but because I saw him. My thought was, this guy here is a total stranger.
Hmm.
If I had to bet right now, he I set in his group and he in mine. We are of the same, just on height, appearance, the
Hmm.
face. He had a beard going on, dark, thick eyebrows. I don't have
Hmm.
as thick as my grandfather, but I looked at him and said, "Yeah, this guy for sure." I don't even have any doubt. Just looking, yeah, this is part of the clan,
Yeah. He's got to be a cousin or something. Yeah.
right? Even if he wasn't, but he
Hmm.
does come from likely,
Hmm.
without a doubt. But whatever, there is always that open space. But from the same population movements that I come from. I mean,
Yeah.
just looking at him.
Yeah.
Um, even his, it just I saw that. I didn't say anything, but I thought it. I was
Hmm.
like, holy smokes! I mean, I'm listening to the prices, but I'm
Hmm.
looking at him saying, damn, this guy is just part of the. Um, and just the last one that I'll say. A few weeks ago, I went to return something, an AC, and as I was coming back along the way, I was driving through Westchester and I saw a supermarket, which happens to be a Cuban supermarket with the name Sedano's.
Hmm.
It's like a Ralph's or whatever you want to say,
Yeah.
but for us, it's a Cuban place, which is the name of the supermarket. Sedano's actually originates in Cantabria, the surname.
Hmm.
So it's a surname, Sedano, and
Hmm.
that's from Cantabria, which is a funny coincidence or whatever. And I said, you know what? I'm going to stop and get some stuff before I get home. So I went in, and when I went in, unlike my local supermarket here,
Hmm.
unlike my local everything here in Sweetwater, I was surrounded in an ocean of what was so visually, feeling wise, I felt like they had dropped me in to kind of like saying where I fit in
Hmm.
to the T.
Almost home, but not quite.
Everybody, I looked like everybody else.
Uh-huh.
I looked like everybody else. The men, the women, everything. It was like I was um in a sort. No, I'm saying that they come from the same population.
Yeah.
They come from the same population. And what does that mean? That means in the context of Cuba, a lot of Canary Island people.
Hmm.
But generationally, like it got washed in.
Hmm.
So they'll have, but you look at them and you'll see them, the build, you
Hmm.
know, the height, the
Hmm.
build. hair color, just and then there's the language and this. And that. It was more an environment where I just washed, blended in. I
Hmm.
was like, holy smokes! Everybody is like, I can't distinct. Everything feels like normal. And then, but when I'm here at my Publix, there's variety.
Hmm.
Um, you'll see tall people, short people,
Hmm.
um, from different, all sorts of different backgrounds. But over there,
Hmm.
it was full on Cuban, and there's a difference because there's a way they care. There's a cultural difference with the way they carry themselves,
Hmm.
um, mannerisms,
Yeah.
subtleties, and stuff that are uniquely Cuban.
Hmm.
Um, so I found that interesting,
Hmm.
because I had not felt that way in a long time. If that I can remember, Miami's always so dynamically like mixed. Let's say, even though there's a lot of Cubans,
Hmm.
but they're spread within this thing
Sure.
in the pot. But over there, it was
Hmm.
high volume concentration. I was like,
You were in full immersion, huh?
yeah, I was like, holy smokes! I feel like culturally, visually, like everything feels like stable, like This feels like a unified little subset of a country right here where we're at. I was like,
A
holy!
microcosm.
It was a bit surreal, dude.
Yeah. Well, you were talking about somebody who kind of sort of looked like you at Home Depot, the family resemblance and what
Just
have you.
broadly, like within the world.
I had one instance of that when we were stationed over in Germany. I was in Frankfurt and I don't remember the reason. I was going to the MP station for something. I don't remember what it was. It was on the course of my duty. And this guy in uniform came walking out, and he was an exact duplicate, an exact twin of my uncle, my mom's brother,
Wow.
who's still living here. And I'm looking at him, and I've got this look on my face as I'm walking towards him. He came out of the building. He was leaving. I was walking in. And military, I looked over at his name tag, and it was the same last name as my uncle's. That freaked me out. So I said, whoa, 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 excuse me, Sergeant. I got to ask you, and this is going to be probably the dumbest thing you've ever been asked. He was an MP. He had the arm thing on, and he's like, okay, what's going on? I said, are you from Missouri or Louisiana? He said, no, I'm from West Texas, right by the Louisiana border. And I said, you have got to be related to me because that's my mother's maiden name, and you are a dead ringer for her brother. And he's like, well, there's a bunch of us back there. I said, yeah, I know. We have to be related. Well, okay, all right, and we exchanged phone numbers and stuff like that. And I talked to him a couple of times. We think that we were related because some of the names sounded familiar to him, but I wasn't as much into tracing my background as I am now. This was, oh my God, 1989, maybe 1990.
Right.
But it was one of the weirder things I've ever seen. Just a coincidence that we happened to be walking, in front of that building at the right time, and I happened to recognize this dude looks like my Uncle Bob. And then I saw the name tag, and I kind of freaked out a little bit. But it was really weird that we have to be related somehow, but we couldn't figure it out right there
Yeah,
on the
you
sidewalk.
could see something familiar in people
Hmm.
like that. Um, my aunt's neighbor across the street, they were a couple,
Hmm.
and they passed away. But back in this past the 2000s.
Hmm.
Um, I interacted with the gentleman more,
Hmm.
and he had these thick eyebrows and Cuban, and I would look at him and it's like I'm thinking to myself, he may not be family, but he's family. I just look at him and
Hmm.
like that's the look. And in fact, there's a photo
Hmm.
leaving this particular example to the side that I ran across doing genealogy research,
Hmm.
and there comes the guy, the face of the guy, his ears,
Hmm.
big ears, thick eyebrows, and just this look on his face that reminded me of my grandfather.
Yeah.
It comes to it ends up being maybe a year or two after I found that photo and I saved it, put it to the
Hmm.
side. He fits in my tree.
Oh, geez.
We does we although we go back into the 1800s.
Yeah.
Like so in other words, it's not like, you know what I'm saying,
Yeah.
like just right
So he
now
was a distant relative. Yeah.
we come from the same direct great grandparents going back. Basically, they were Mir
Hmm.
people, and the Mir mixed with the Escajedos, and
Okay.
so the point is that there's a resemblance even that I recognize
Yeah.
even after 200-300 years
Hmm.
of an original common ancestor between us.
Yeah.
There were sprinkled in, but remember these populations mix with
Sure.
each other.
Sure.
So when you mix with each other, you get similarities, even though there's variety.
Yeah.
You can pick out little whatnots that sort of seem close enough that you can grab onto it and say, "Yeah,
Hmm.
that's familiar to me."
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
there's a lot of overlap like that where similarities, yes, there's two different people, but damn, they look.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. There are some similarities that are glaring. And it may be something as subtle as the way they turn their head or the way they sit in a chair, in an armchair. Maybe they fold their hands in front of them, like I've got mine now, or maybe they, kind of lay back. There are similarities, a certain look, a certain, one of these little eye movements that they do as they're listening to somebody, the way they tilt their head. There are certain similarities that are just like, man, this is too goofy. This is too spooky. We need to talk. We're probably related somewhere back there.
Yeah, and that
But,
stuff comes down to us because of combinations of genes and some other unspoken thing that we can't, a blood you can call it,
mm-hmm,
but at some level there's obviously inheritance, and a lot of things pop up that look pretty darn
mm-hmm,
familiar to us,
yeah,
even though we don't know who the people are.
yeah. Some of
Yeah.
it's spooky, but
What's that?
I say some of it's spooky. How much they resemble somebody else.
I so I lived with my grandmother here for decades and decades, and when she passed, in that the weeks after, for some reason I ended up somewhere in another part of town that I don't frequent, and I stopped at a gas station to fill up gas, and there was this lady standing there, and I'm not even joking. She looked exactly like my grandmother, and I walked up to her and said hello to her, and because I had to,
Yeah.
because my grandmother had passed,
Mm-hmm,
and now this lady appears, the face, the hair.
mm-hmm,
Um, I was like, whoa, and stuff like that. Now you may
mm-hmm.
think, well, maybe you're projecting and this and that. No, I'm like visually,
Yeah.
the lady was like, whoa, this is. I mean, I could tell it wasn't her,
Mm-hmm.
and for obvious reasons, just the logistics of it. But the appearance was so darn close
Yeah.
that it made me think of my grandmother.
Yeah.
You
Well, I
know,
don't blame you. I would have had to said something too. I don't think I could have let that pass. You know, that's too spooky. Right then, right at that time. If it had been 5 years down the road, you know. But right then, that's a little bit too coincidental.
Yeah, yeah. There's certain archetypes
Hmm.
that or patterns that because we all, since we're human, we all have all the I guess options that humans have,
Hmm.
or the potential of maybe a slight eye crease or a certain neck
Yeah.
movement or leaning forward or back on in a chair and all this
Hmm.
stuff. And we do hopscotch and see those links,
Yeah.
and they end up being familiar to us.
Hmm.
You know,
Yeah.
I've never met
Well,
a person like my father, I can tell you, or my mother,
me either,
I can tell you.
or even my brother. You know, but I don't know. It's just weird. I have mistaken people for somebody else. Like, and this is pretty common. I'm sure you've been walking through a store or something like that, and you end up behind somebody. It's like, you're like three people behind them, and you're like, damn, that looks like Aunt Carol, or that looks like that dude, or that looks like that. And then they turn around and say, oh, okay, no, it's not that dude. But,
I I I, I saw an old girlfriend of mine at the supermarket, um, just this past year, and so she was with her cart. She didn't see me,
mm-hmm.
so I said, "Okay." And as I as I was passing by her, I deliberately rammed. She's like looking through the eggs or whatever. I deliberately rammed into the side, like a
Mm-hmm.
side swipe into
Yeah.
her car, like like move over,
Mm-hmm.
even though there was plenty of space in the aisle. And I
Yeah.
kept walking, and I walked further, and I turned around. She didn't know it was me for a split second, and she was standing there like this, just looking at me like how dare this person? And I looked, and I turned, and I pointed, and I said, and and it was good because I caught the person by surprise, and and we caught up and stuff a little bit. Uh, so yeah, I see people. I mean, this is slightly different than what we're talking about,
Yeah.
but we do catch people that we. Well, no, actually, it fits within the. But in this case,
Mm-hmm.
it was true that I knew who it was.
Turns out you did know her. Yeah.
But I will, on occasion, see a person say, "Oh, I know that person." Like in actuality.
Mm-hmm.
Um. So yeah.
Yeah. It's weird. But then again, like we were saying, human perception is different for everybody. They may not look anything like that person. But okay, have you ever found yourself thinking about somebody from your past, doesn't matter who, a friend from school? Man, I haven't thought about him in years. And all of a sudden, the next couple of days, you start seeing people that look like that guy did,
Yeah.
you know? So it's the power of suggestion. That is projection. It's like, oh man, that looks like, oh no, that's not him, you know?
Well, if we're maybe there's a certain tuning fork of that maybe not be obvious, like opening up a directory and stuff, but
Hmm.
it's there.
Yeah.
Um, the idea of whatever I think at the moment, like if I think of you, let's say,
Hmm.
that automatically means that you're thinking of me, or you're about to call me or message me, or whatever the case. Um, it could be the case. It has been in the past where
Yeah.
those things coincide.
Yeah.
So that has happened.
Hmm.
Um, but that's a tough one to even. That's a little bit in the mystic because we don't really
Yeah. We
have
don't really.
control of knowing that.
But man, I wonder what he's doing. The phone rings, pick it up. Dude, I was just thinking about you. How dare you?
Yeah. Now this whole thing about Well, I'll touch on this whole thing about our appearances, the way we look. Um, so there's no way for me to know, like I mentioned before, properly the way
Hmm.
you see me.
Yeah.
Like physically, like um, you know me in ways,
Hmm.
even though because you are observing me,
Hmm.
and I'm not observing myself in the same. I could reflect on myself. I could look at myself in the mirror. I
Yeah.
could think about how I look, but all that is clouded with, you know, my judgments about myself.
Right.
Um, but you would see me with not my lens, your lens, and that is
Hmm.
impossible for me to replicate or know.
Right.
So you
Right.
can see me in ways that I can now the inner world, and in fact, you can see me physically different
Hmm.
than I can see myself, even though we're looking at the same image.
Right.
The fact that you're your own interpretive
Hmm.
focal point makes all the difference. And I don't even know properly, or even remotely properly, how you um, see me, or vice versa. You
Hmm.
can't tell, like the way I see you. You can't know
Right.
how um, I see you, or the expressions and the words that come out, the meaning behind you,
Yeah.
the things you say, whatever you reveal, what you know. I don't know that's in your inner world. I can't know, but you don't know what you give out.
Right.
You may know a little bit of it, but not the way I see it. Not that I'm right, but you get the point.
Yeah.
It's circumstantial depending on where you're looking. Like
Hmm.
different people standing in a field with telescopes, kind of like Jim Dockerell's rainbow question that one time. Is it the same rainbow, this and that? We're all observing each other,
Hmm.
but we don't know how other people are interpreting what we give out.
Right.
So you
Right.
don't have access to my inner world.
Right. Well, we don't even actually have access to the outer world when you stop and think about it. I've never seen you standing at full height compared to me. I know you're taller than I am,
I'm a
but
giant, man. I'm a giant.
but I don't know how tall that is because every time I've seen you, you're sitting down. Now I've seen you in video walking around doing what you got to do, what have you, but not in reference to me. So
Right,
I don't have that context.
right.
I kind of got a little context because you've met Javi, right?
Yeah,
In person.
yeah.
He and I are the same height.
Okay.
So you have better context that I still don't have.
Right, right,
So it doesn't even have to be I'm seeing you and I'm seeing myself with my own eyes. It's I can't place you in a context of exactly how tall you are in reference to myself.
right,
So there are certain outward things that we don't know that we don't see.
right.
You know.
Yeah, so we kind of are assuming a lot
Hmm.
all the time,
Yeah.
but we act many times or more often than not
Hmm.
as if those assumptions are sure things.
Right.
And so, but they're not, they're approximations.
Hmm.
You approximate who Eloy is, I
Hmm.
approximate who Mark is.
Hmm.
An approximation, generally or broadly speaking, is good enough.
Hmm.
There's more to know,
Sure.
or even less to know. Like, in the spectrum of things,
Hmm.
we know what we know, but that knowing
Uh,
is an interpretation of ours, and how
right.
we place Mark Lindsay in our dictionary or encyclopedia, with all that is included, um, is only our. jotting down the notes.
Right. And we also have to remember that we're dealing through certain filters.
Yeah.
Like you and I right now have to work with a YouTube filter. There are certain things we can and can't say. We have to comport ourselves in a certain manner. We get off of the broadcast behind the scenes, we can open up a little bit more because we're no longer, restricted by that YouTube filter, and we can talk just as two guys hanging over the back fence. But there's still a little bit of a filter there because nobody shares everything. So we're viewing each other through various filters at various times,
Right.
simply because we have to keep that defense up just a little bit. There are some things that are just private and we just won't talk about them. And that's a good thing. So I can't see through your filters and you can't see through mine. So I have to take at face value that I only know what you allow me to know.
But let's
So,
take it one step further. That's all true,
mm-hmm,
but there's a little bit more because even if I have my walls,
mm-hmm,
and only allow what I want to allow,
mm-hmm,
you can circumvent much, not
mm-hmm,
all, but much, because I assume that what I project when I
mm-hmm,
talk, the points I make, or how I make them, you could take that from your vantage point, interpret it for what's not there,
yes.
or what the tone like. So you could
Based
know.
on how I want to interpret something, I could come away with a completely different idea. Yeah.
Well, you can also get lost in that too. Like you can say, well, I want to interpret this in this way, or is this so? There is that error too, or potential error.
Mm-hmm,
But even within error, so what I'm getting at is that even though um, those walls that you say, which is our ego, defense mechanisms, perhaps,
yeah.
um, we just share as much as we do, but not the other stuff, necessarily.
Yeah.
Um, Even though that restraint is happening, even subconsciously, in many cases, you as the observer towards me can
Mm-hmm,
still pick up on little clues that I'm not
yeah.
aware that you're picking up on. And I couldn't because
Yeah.
I am looking at myself from my vantage point.
Yeah.
So it's impossible,
Absolutely.
right? So it's impossible. Like you could tell um, on a sliding scale
Mm-hmm,
when people are sincere,
yeah.
when people are not, or they're upset, or there's some
Yeah.
sort of tension going on.
Yeah.
Um, you can sense something, and people
Yeah.
people can sense more or less depending on the person how
Mm-hmm,
open they are to seeing those things. But the I guess the broader point is that communication and us as humans, our dressing, which is our physical bodies, our expressions, and then our words, um, are good enough examples of, hey, that's Joe Bob over there. Hey, that's
mm-hmm,
Tim over there. Like those are general pinpointing, more or less. That's that guy.
yeah.
But but that's just a summarizing of, or a summary of what more is to that person.
Right.
You know, like
Right.
like like Steve Nealon, um, Greg, or Jim, Linda. Just these are human beings.
Mm-hmm,
I mentioned them, so I brought up their name. When I mentioned that, I have an image
mm-hmm,
that's not refined enough as they would see them their inner worlds.
right.
But I'm signaling to them, hey Jim, hey Greg, hey Linda, hey Steve, hey Al, hey. I'm signaling to them. They're catching that perhaps signal,
Hmm.
but their view of what who I'm is different of themselves is different. So it's a complex interaction
Right.
dance.
Yeah, it is. It is. It's a very complex interaction. And each of them is going to take away a different opinion
Yeah.
based on appearance, based on our mannerisms, based on the way we talk about something, based on, you know, the tone of voice we use.
Right.
So people are making up their minds about each other
All the
all
time.
the time. And
Yeah.
and it's a thing that carries on no matter how many years you've known a person. You may think uh, uh, have you ever had that happen? You think you know a person, and all of a sudden something happens. It's like, them? I would never have expected that from them. You know, I've been
That,
caught by surprise like that a couple of times.
so that one has happened to me.
Hmm.
So I'll use myself unless I can. Well, I don't know which one's better to use. So because if I use myself, it might sound like too self-centered. If I
Hmm.
use you, it's a little bit abusive because now I'm experimenting with Mark. So I don't know which one to use.
Am I a
Um,
lab rat to you?
so okay, so let's say a person throughout their life,
Hmm.
um, when we're young till now, there's a lot of in between places. When we started off,
Yeah.
our our knowledge base, our experiences, and our feelings were at a moment of let's call it purity or innocence or simplicity, any of those, and a mixture of those, because we're young. We don't
Hmm.
have the tainting of the world around us and the suppositions and
Yeah.
doubts and all that. And we look to our parents and we observe the world and we learn from there.
Hmm.
We saw maybe a kid take a candy bar and we thought that was bad. Now we learned a lesson about bad. But
Hmm.
a stolen candy bar, may be in principle the same thing as a stolen car
Hmm.
from the back parking lot of
Yeah.
of a supermarket. Um, in principle, it's theft, but the
Yeah.
difference is that
The degree.
little
Yeah.
Eloy at the schoolyard and
Hmm.
the missing candy bar is limited in the layers of stuff that have
Hmm.
tainted his world compared to now I'm here at the supermarket. Some f off,
Hmm.
um, stole my stuff, and the principle's the same. There's theft, there's a robbing, there's an intrusion, there's a
Yeah.
removal of, but because you're now Eloy at the age that you are, and you have the backlog of things that you can grab from to
Yeah.
process what's going on, and enough disappointments, let's say, of
Yeah.
people's
And
behavior
enough cynicism.
and cynicism, then all of a sudden,
Hmm.
even though it's the same Eloy across time, it's an evolving Eloy
Hmm.
experiencing the world and and his reaction to the world
Yeah.
across time.
And
Um,
and all of it based on his perceptions.
and based on our senses and the
Hmm.
way we interpret,
Uh-huh.
what how to rationalize, the way we protect ourselves to find an escape, because we're you know we want the best outcomes,
Hmm.
which means comfort, survival,
Yeah.
harmony, balance,
Hmm.
security,
Yeah.
stability. Um, and then there's people that don't, that there's some sort of wreckage going on. But in general, there's a level of stability that people want.
Hmm.
Um, but we are a continually evolving observer of
Hmm.
everything. And where we started off was the beginning of the road, as far as we know. And where we're at, we've collected all that.
Hmm.
And our choices along the way have made us interact with the world the way we do. Your choices of how you've
Well,
arrived at how do you treat a person that does
well,
X, Y, and Z, you know.
we're also carrying the baggage of all of those experiences that we picked up along the way,
Yep.
you know?
Yeah.
So now Momo pops in and says, "You reminded me of Morpheus telling Neo in The Matrix residual self image. It is the mental projection of your digital self."
Yeah.
Yeah, kinda. I mean, I can sit here and say that the person you see on YouTube in many ways is me. Lumps and all, warts and all. But I still have to filter myself to not so much conform to a specific image that I have to portray, but I have to filter myself in order to fit into this platform's requirements. So I'm not as free to say some things, not that I want to say them, but I have to keep in mind that people of any age could be watching right now and I'd never know it. And so I have to behave a certain way or not behave a certain way.
Right. But now,
Uh,
would you, in spite of the the um, guardrails
mhm,
that the system, this particular system,
mhm,
um, suggests to you, well, there's two things. One is that this online system that we're operating in right now
mhm.
has delineated rules,
Yeah,
by lines and codes and whatever the heck,
yeah,
terms of certain all this stuff in which we operate in, and that they can use in case of breakage of those.
yeah.
The enforcement is, as far as I can see, dependent on their choice, but also random in a sense,
Mhm.
in that just like stoplights, you drive across a red one, you might not get caught. You know you did wrong because there's a system in play, and
Right.
that if everybody crosses the red light, then we have chaos. But like your example, maybe you're at midnight, and why would you stop? It's a moral question because there's no penalty in
Yeah.
that situation.
Uh,
Well, um,
just go ahead,
let
but
me just say
just
the
go ahead.
thing. Even if or not these lines, bylines, and whatnot existed, which they do, w- would you operate any way different, one extreme
Um,
to the other?
I can't I can't quantify how different it would be, but yeah, it would be a little bit different. You've talked to me behind the scenes for many many years. You know that I swear a little bit more. I was in the army for so long, I just kind of picked it up. And there are certain words I use as almost like punctuation in regular conversation. There are certain topics that I'll approach that I wouldn't approach while broadcasting. And there's certain weird way out things that we talk about. We talk about some goofball stuff behind the scenes that I just, some things, yeah, you just don't want to put out there. So, would it be a dramatic difference? In one or two ways, maybe, but I try to be the same person whether we're live or we're behind the scenes. I think ultimate personality wise, I'm the same person. Just my way, just my speech, some of the things I say may be a little bit different. That's all.
Now, let's let's talk about this person bit.
And that's on a vocabulary basis. Now, just real quick, like for those who weren't privy to our discussion behind the scenes, we were talking about um, um, integrity, being doing the right thing even when you know nobody is watching. And my example to Eloy was it's midnight, you're pull up to a four-way stop, you can see there is absolutely no traffic anywhere. And doing the right thing is stopping at that stop sign anyway, then proceeding when you know it's safe. even when you can see that there's no traffic there. Nobody will ever see it. Do you stop or you just go on ahead and blow on through it? That's a decision we all have to make. So now we can get back to what we were talking about. Sorry about that.
Oh, it's a
Just wanted
good.
to.
No, it's a good description and thing to mention because it goes to a deeper thing. Um, it's very important actually. So we'll do that, or at least my thoughts on that. You, it's a deep question to, or it's a deep thing. So I'll say this: when no one's looking,
Mm-hmm.
those boundaries that we set and why we set them. There's a reason. There's a there's the thing. There's a habitual thing where something becomes reflex, automatic reflex. Um, but there's also an ethical thing
Mm-hmm.
that when you stop at that light, there's no one around. You stop anyways. If you were to question the act at that moment that you stop, like let's say automatically, because many
Mm-hmm.
times you do it, like many times in that situation, I do it automatically.
Yeah, it's
I'm not
just
thinking, is this a moment of ethical
yeah.
consideration? I'm just on autopilot,
Oh, stop sign. Stop.
right?
Yeah.
But the thing about the stop sign is when no one's looking, like you said, if
Mm-hmm.
someone in a law enforcement is there,
Mm-hmm.
we would probably have high confidence that even people that would take it
Mm-hmm.
would stop because there's now immediate consequence right
Right.
there for
Mm-hmm.
your actions. But this absence of consequence
Mm-hmm.
is still not absence of consequence because the stop sign isn't enforced by law enforcement alone. It's by that you said, this ethical consideration, this thing that we were suggesting where if one person breaks that, then other people do, and all of a
Right.
sudden you have this chaos.
Right.
And what damage could come of that?
Mm-hmm.
Unfortunately, and so I agree with that. But now, unfortunately, all at the same time that we're doing that,
Mm-hmm.
which I agree with, we're on. I'll just say for myself, maybe not blatantly, but there's
Mm-hmm.
instances of where I will go right ahead and break all sorts of rules in
Oh,
small ways.
sure.
I'm not saying like I'm holding up a bank or something and saying,
Mm-hmm.
"Yeehaw!" I'm not trying to
Yeah,
go there.
doing 40 in a 35 zone is not, the crime of the century,
But there's the thing,
you know.
right? Well, that's what I'm getting at. So let me, so, and that's a good example. So I'll use that. But here's the thing: there is a scale. We're human,
Mm-hmm.
so we're gonna counter, counter, contradict, contradict.
Contradict.
We're gonna contradict ourselves a whole bunch of times because it's also based on feeling, moment, situational, what we are expected to do, what we want to do, but what we failed to do at the moment due to this or that. Like there's all this mess going around. Um, but with your 35 in a 25, was it
No,
35?
40 and a 35.
So 30 and a 45, you said, well, look, that 5 mile, technically, that 5 miles is
Mm-hmm.
already a violation.
Yeah.
But you have made a judgment, and by the way, I agree with you. And in fact, I think most of
I,
America,
dude, I grew up in the San Francisco Bay Area. The last person I saw doing 55 was in the drive-through at McDonald's, okay?
right? Well, it
Let's
becomes
just
norm.
yeah,
It becomes a norm.
it does.
The sign says something, but people say,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, but we're going to go ahead and increase it by 5 or 10.
Mm-hmm. And then, oh, I got away with that. So now, I mean, there are stretches of highway where the sign says 65, but if you're not doing 70, you're going to get run over. And
Right.
I'm talking about in the right lane. They're doing 75 and 80 in the left lane.
Right. So now here we have a contradiction. We have
Hmm.
a law or
Yeah.
regulation or whatever you want to call highway, traffic, byway,
Yeah.
whatever,
Highway code. Yeah.
that says a number, and not even at this point,
Hmm.
more often than not even law enforcement pays attention to it. It's a more or less stick within what we
Hmm.
see as normal.
What?
Yes,
You're keeping up with the flow of traffic. Hmm.
right. So there's breakage of the law.
Hmm.
There's a codified code going
Hmm.
on, and then there's the decision of the public with wiggle room,
Hmm.
and one follows the other, and it becomes the norm, and there's that sliding scale.
Now, there's also randomness. Like, I was driving through and it was this sort of a situation. I was driving in a 45 zone, and me and everybody around me was doing about 50 through a 45 zone. And a police officer pulled in behind me, pulled me over. He ran all my information and everything. He didn't give me a ticket, he just gave me a warning. And I don't know what in my brain made me ask the question. I asked him, "Why did you pull me over when all of us were doing 50?" And he says, "Do you fish?" And I said, "Yeah." He says, "Did you ever catch every fish in the lake?" And I kind of smiled a little bit and I said, "Okay, point taken." And he said, "It was just your turn. You know, it
Yeah,
was just randomness. Just your turn. Keep it at the speed limit." He didn't give me a ticket. But when he said that, "Did you ever catch every fish in the lake?" I thought, okay, point well made. Point
yeah,
well made.
and that's
Uh,
absolutely true. And you know what that symbolizes? It symbolizes a good enough, more or
mm-hmm,
less wiggle room, not this rigid thing.
mm-hmm,
This concept of rigidity.
mm-hmm.
It's not quite. It's rigid when it's your turn.
Yeah. Well, see,
Like,
I don't know if I did something. Maybe I was slow in a lane change, or maybe I didn't signal soon enough, or something. Or he just decided, I'm going to go for the white pickup.
yeah, well, I got stopped one time. I was working at the Mikasuki
Mm-hmm.
casino, and I was coming out of work like at 6 in the morning, exhausted from standing in an empty one hall room or the other with like one or two people
Mm-hmm.
clicking on the darn machines, and it was just like one of those nights.
Yeah.
Got in the car, empty parking lot. Well, I mean, there were people there, but it was kind of like. And I got to the first stop sign, and then the second one, and I didn't quite make a full stop. I was like, "There's
Mm-hmm.
nobody around." I did a little one of these and just kept going. Like,
Yeah.
oh, I know it's a
Uh,
stop. Oh, I know it's
Cal- California stop, we call it.
uh-huh. I
I
said,
slowed down, nobody there, boom. You know.
right. You have to come to a full stop. That's just how it
Mm-hmm.
is. Yeah, the
Right.
car has to come to a full stop.
Yeah. And in fact, we got a comment out here. Does a California stop count? I mean, you do what your conscience lets you do.
So 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 um so I did one of those and the cop stopped me.
Hmm.
And I was like, dude, he comes up and he says, dude, you took I'm gonna have to write your ticket, dude. You took the stop sign. I said, dude, I'm coming out of work. You're right. I'm coming out of work and stuff and worked all night. There's nobody there, stuff. He says, yeah, dude, but you took the like he was being friendly. I
Hmm.
said, look, I know the police guy from in there. His name is such a. I name dropped, and
Yeah.
and he said, you know so and so. Let's see if that's
Hmm.
so. He called him, and he said, yeah, I know that guy. This and that. Okay, then look, I'll tell you what. I can give you. What was the choice? I can give you a warning with a what do you call it? A seatbelt thing that you didn't have your seatbelt,
Hmm.
or you get the ticket. With the warning, you have to go to your station and just
Hmm.
show your license. It's just a warning, and you're good.
Hmm.
And I said, but I didn't have me and my thinking. Like he's giving me an out.
Mm-hmm.
But me and my thinking, I'm looking at the logic of it. And the bigger logic is he's giving me an out.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm thinking, why don't you just let me go, dude? That's your intent,
You wanted no consequences.
right? He gave me some consequence,
Mm.
um, and I said, but why the thing? I mean, in reality, I didn't have the seatbelt, and I mean, my seatbelt's on. Because yeah, but you took the stop sign. So which one do you want?
Yeah.
And I was like, okay, I'll take the seatbelt thing.
Yeah.
So he did a favor, but there was some
Well,
consequence for
well,
doing the California stop.
well. You took a chance by name dropping.
I did. Yeah,
Number one, you're assuming that just because they work together, they like each other.
that's true.
But you don't know this. The guy that pulled you over may hate that dude's guts and go, "Oh, you know him? You're getting the full ticket." You know, you're associated that low life. Yeah, you're
Yeah,
getting the
well,
full ticket.
there's all sorts of variables, but at that time, but the point being that
Mm-hmm.
we don't always
Mm-hmm.
meet the expectations that not only by far
Yeah,
others expect of us, but not even ourselves.
yeah,
It's
yeah.
it's it's a touch and go.
Well,
Um,
and
you're,
that's why I say, you do what your conscience allows you to do. You might not think, like I said a minute ago, going 40 in a 35 is not the crime of the century. No, it's not until you hit a kid. Then it becomes something, you know. So you do what your conscience allows you to do. Um, the one of the examples I gave you in that four-way stop where you can see clearly there is no traffic, but can you see 100 yards ahead where somebody is crossing the road? Can you see 200 yards ahead when there's two deer in the middle of the road? You're fixing to hit them. No, you can't. But if you do come to a complete stop at that intersection, you know you've done the right thing, you know?
yeah,
So,
I mean, sometimes we take shortcuts.
mm-hmm,
Sometimes, I mean, like at Home Depot today, there were people that just managed to, for some reason, get. No, it was actually Publix after because from Home Depot I stopped quick at Publix. There were people that just decided
mm-hmm.
to just like right cross my path in every direction,
Yeah.
every step I take forward.
Well, there is a percentage of the population that believes that normal traffic laws that you and I obey every day out on the road don't apply in parking lots. And it's like, dude, they paint those big arrows in the middle of the lanes to indicate which direction. Every car is parked this way, and you're coming this way, looking at me like I'm the idiot. You know, come on, man.
We delegate, or we have our many trials in our heads as to excusing behavior like this or like that,
Hmm.
even in small ways.
Yeah.
But I guess my main point of all this is that we work on these things always in flux, in sort of
Hmm.
like a
Yeah.
today we're kind of good on this subject, but we're
Hmm.
poor on that one. We
Right.
did good here, we did bad there. I mean, that's a constant thing.
Yeah.
So my concept is, and I didn't come up with this, but is that we have Eloy, and then the range of what Eloy can possibly do.
Hmm.
Um, the one extreme is like Eloy being at his best,
Hmm.
and the other one at his poorest, and then somewhere in the middle would be like the
Yeah.
average, and that's always in flux
Hmm.
across the different subjects. This is, I feel, completely a sane,
Hmm.
grounded thing to say. That this idea that, oh well, this person is a good person, that person's
Yeah.
a bad person, um, is really a summary
Mm.
according to what we're focused on.
Yeah.
As towards bad. Like we'll say, oh, this person that committed X amount of crime. train robberies or whatever the heck,
Yeah.
they're a bad person, and that's accurate.
Mm-hmm.
That's completely accurate.
Yeah.
Um, but some people just that's all they see, and they don't need to see more. But the point is,
Mm-hmm.
behind that, who knows what their story was, their family growing up time,
Yeah.
were they a rotten apple, the friends they hung out with, the
Well, and some things are just unforgivable. I understand Jeffrey Dahmer was really nice. He was a nice guy. When he wasn't eating people, he was charming.
yeah.
But you know, one will wipe out all the attaboys you've ever accumulated over your life. So you know,
Well, yeah, that's a pretty extreme situation because
yeah, and I picked an extreme one just to kind of illustrate. You never know. You
yeah,
never know.
but on average,
Yeah,
people make little. I mean, there's a saying somebody wrote, and it's been around for a while, that Americans on average break X amount of laws each day, unbeknownst to them,
yeah,
just based on all the
probably
different.
do. Yeah.
Well, there's a saying like that, whether that's
Hmm.
true or not, but like I think they base it on all the subcoding and the this and that
Hmm.
that's sitting in, like
Well, yeah.
if they
Okay, you didn't run a red light, but could you have stopped for that yellow? Probably. You know.
right.
Yeah, you kind of sped up a little bit fast from that red light, and you were 3 miles an hour over the speed limit, and then you slowed back down, but you still broke the. You were still speeding. Yeah. There's a bunch of little things like that we do. So,
Yeah, yeah. There's a lot of lapses.
I mean, I it was a couple of months ago. We'd done some grocery shopping at Wally World. And we got out to the car, and the cup of noodles. You
Yeah,
put some water in it, throw it in the microwave. I
yeah,
love those things, man. I really do. I buy the whole tray pack, all six of them or all 12 of them, whichever. It depends on which ones they have in the store at the time. So I grabbed the whole thing and I put it down underneath the cart. Well, we got out to the cart or out to the car and we're loading up the trunk and I got the basket all emptied out of all the bags and I looked down and there's that damn thing, a cup of noodles, and I know I didn't scan them and pay for them. So here I go, walking my happy butt back in. I couldn't face the cashier. I walked over to self checkout, pull out the gun, zip, ding, 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 and I pay for the cup of noodles and walk out holding my receipt up in the air. Like, see, I'm a good person. Like I'm waving the good guy flag. You know,
yeah,
it's weird stuff.
yeah. I
Um,
mean,
Now, Momo has a one here. Is it just me or the pace of life quickened up a bit? Quickened up quite a bit.
in terms of, is it in terms? If is the question in terms of, um, so is it in terms of as a matter of fact perception? So like, obviously he's asking for a perception, but um, we've talked about this. The older we get, the more we know, the more we're aware, and the more.
The more we think we know.
Well, we literally know, not that we know everything, but we do know more than when we started.
Yeah.
It doesn't all have to be nice, and it's not
Hmm.
by a long shot, but we know more. So it's like what you said that one time. For a 5-year-old, a
Hmm.
year is a lifetime. But a
Yeah.
year for a 30 or 40-year-old
Hmm.
is like,
Yeah.
it shrinks in
Yeah. For a 5-year-old, a year is 1/5 of their life. You know, that's quite a bit. But
right.
to a 50-year-old, it's 1/10, 1/100th. You know.
Right, and in terms of other things that I could think about, that it does feel,
Hmm.
that life broadly,
Mhm.
even without those that concern, which is a big one, we can't
Mhm.
then ignore that one. But just broadly, it does seem that the pace has accelerated in various fields in life, sufficient for it to be at least it seems that way to me. That's my perception. Yes, I
Yeah.
would agree on that level if that's what he meant. I agree on the other level that you had once used as an example.
Mhm.
Yes, but is it really speeding up, or is it just the same? It's just that we, like you explained, um, have more tracks behind us. We've laid
Well,
more tracks back there.
well, in terms of is the pace of life getting faster? I would say in many ways yes, but I think it's also depends on where you live because you're in the big city. The pace of life there is a lot faster, but it wasn't overnight. You've been there your whole life. You've watched that become a gradual thing. From you went from a relatively quiet, relatively, you said yourself it was nowhere. It was kind of out in the sticks.
Yeah, no,
But
quiet it was.
but the
Yeah,
city all of a sudden grew around you and enveloped you. So
yeah,
the pace of life has to have become faster for you. So as populations grow and you have more people on the roads attempting to use the same resources, you have more people going to the same grocery stores, you have more people going to the same gas stations and the same restaurants. Yeah, the pace of life does kind of speed up.
yeah,
More people basically demands that.
yeah.
But then again, where I live, the pace of life is considerably slower as compared to yours.
Right, it's relative.
I joke all the time. If you visit Southern Oregon, when you go to the grocery store, don't ask the cashier how you doing because they'll tell you how they're doing, and there are no short stories, and you're just kind of stuck there listening. So don't ask them how they're doing. Just say hi. That's good. So let's see here. I live in the suburbs, but with the modern lifestyle, there's so much that needs to get done in a finite amount of time. I feel there's a scarcity of time among all of us. I would tend to agree to a point, but I think that's also self-imposed. I'm retired, okay? So I'm going to put up my disclaimer. Um
Nice.
um I'm retired. So I'm pretty much on my own time, and I put as much pressure on myself as I want to. And if I think I've got too many things going on at once, I can pick and choose which ones to kind of back off of. Let's let them sit to the side and let me handle what I've got going on. I still find myself taking on more than I think I should and putting more pressure on me to get more stuff done. But I'm okay with it right now. If I had, and it's Linda and I, we can take care. We can go do our running around and what have you. We're both adults. We can get it done. If I had kids here, if I'm raising a family and there's children involved, there's added pressure on that. So that is going to contribute to a scarcity of time. How busy I am is not up to me because now I've got other people involved here. So I think a lot of it is self imposed, is what I'm getting at.
It's relative. It's
Mm-hmm.
relative to age.
Mm-hmm.
It's relative to location.
Mm-hmm.
It's relative to um, whatever you have on your plate in terms of things to be done. So a person sitting at a waiting room can feel an hour be just, and it's happened to me. extreme, stretched out, whereas a person at the county fair turns around and then the hour passed. It's just so it's situational, it's
Yeah.
relative, but depending on what. So because I have preconceived ideas too that I connect that question. So he said, "Is it me or is time? Does time seem to be shrinking or whatnot or this or that?" Um,
As far as that, about the time, with the modern lifestyle, there's so much that needs to get done in a finite amount of time. I feel there's a scarcity of time among all of us.
yeah, and so that's individualistic
Hmm.
concerning his particulars. But he did mention that there's a sort of uh,
Pace of life faster.
a pace of life thing, and I think so. But then again, yeah, quickened a bit. Yeah, that's more of a broad, but he did then refine it. But I think that both things are true because it's well, it's still relative. If so, for instance, with AI, um, you can have access to a ton of information, but then you can have a person that reads just a newspaper, so they go one article at a time that's been published, and
Hmm.
so even though the one person is stacked with data,
Hmm.
the other person might be reading it as it was read 100 years ago,
Right.
um, sitting on the porch and stuff. And both things are providing data, but one is an extreme case, and the other one is a bit more leisurely. And the same with driving. If you're a local driver or if you're a driver that goes cross county,
Hmm.
those are two different situations.
Right.
How,
It is individualistic because, as you says with the newspaper, are you the type of person to just scan the headlines and maybe read the first paragraph, or are you the kind of person that's going to read and digest the whole article? You
it
know.
depends also, but yeah. Yeah,
So
it's relational. It's situational. It's relative, and we are older, so we have more catalog behind us, and time does appear to be more. And we all experience time differently individually.
yeah.
Like time for me and you are different because
Hmm.
maybe you're in the waiting room and I'm somewhere off. I
Yeah.
don't know,
Yeah.
collecting coins at a coin collecting convention or something,
Right.
and then that hour is going to be totally different. Like we'll say, like let's say if you say, Eloy, I'll meet you at 4:30,
Hmm.
but I got to go to this sort of appointment, and there's like a waiting line and all that.
Hmm.
And I know you got to go over there to that coin convention for that
Hmm.
ever so elusive coin, whatever that might be. And so between that hour,
Yeah.
I'm actually racing. I'm saying, man, I've got no time to be in this great, exciting coin collecting hall. And
And I'm
you're,
sitting here
yeah,
thumbing through a 6 month old copy of Molar World. You know. Oh boy, tooth decay. Interesting article. You know.
right. And so for you, the feeling or the sense of that same time period
Yeah.
would be radically different than mine.
I don't remember who it was that said it, but they said if you put your hand on a hot stove, 1 second feels like an hour. But if you're in the company of a pretty woman, 1 hour feels like 1 second.
Yeah,
So, you know,
yeah.
yeah.
I've got a joke about that, and it has to do with seconds, but we'll leave that one to the side.
Yeah, let's wait until we're off camera off of that. Let's see here. Okay. Yeah, Steve says time isn't real. Well, we know Steve's a time lord anyway. There's absolutely no way he can do what he does in one day and still get, food and sleep and stuff like that. So,
There's a just to mention about what Steve said.
mhm.
There's a hypothesis theory that's out there where they explain that. So in his what he's saying, so I'm vamping off of that, where if you think of a person's life,
Mm-hmm.
uh, they experience it as a beginning, a journey,
Mm-hmm.
and an end. There's a cycle. But from the outside, there's the theory. Imagine a collection of DVDs or VHSs
Mm-hmm.
in a great hall, and each one represents a person's life.
Mm-hmm.
And from this observer point, the curator of that library of VHSs, all your beginning and ending is on that tape,
Mm-hmm.
and they can take the tape, put it into the machine, and they can hopscotch back and forth however they like, and
Mm-hmm.
each moment is relived right there and then, and you are there.
Mm-hmm.
What it suggests is kind of what Steve is suggesting: no end, no nothing. There's just existence.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but it's in these blocks, let's say.
Mm-hmm.
That's kind of a thing that we don't know, this, that, the other,
Well,
but that's one of the things that is mentioned.
nobody knows exactly how time works. And it seems weird to say something like that. But how does it work? I mean, there's a progression. We know that. We know that what I say right now is done. It's gone. It's in the past. I've said it. But how did that work?
Well,
We don't know.
in this particular theory, um, there is no. So we as us experiencing the experience
Hmm.
are seeing it in an orderly fashion
Yeah,
when
in a linear fashion. Yeah.
but some of the suggestions are that, again, these are theories and whatnot, but that that no, in fact, there's just existence. There is just existence. Now, the idea of what time is and this and that, they have, you know, like
Hmm.
Einstein did, like the idea where, and you've mentioned it before too in the
Hmm.
past, where if, or did I mention it or did you? I forget who, but one of us did. Um, that if a person is on Earth and someone's out in space, time for each, the person in space ages a little bit less, I think, than the person on Earth. And the further away you get from Earth, this relativity,
Hmm.
uh, that can stretch. So there's these concepts where if you go from,
Right.
and this is all because of speed of light and relativity theory
Hmm.
and all that. And I mean, look, we don't I can't say, hey, Mark, this is how that works. We're speculating, but
Yeah.
if you go backwards into the inner world, I
Hmm.
saw this the other day. Um, um, it's one of those famous YouTube channels, Vertasium or
Veritasium. Yeah.
Veritasium. Yeah, that dude. He took a magnifying thing that went so many times to go down to the atom.
Hmm.
I don't know if you saw it or not.
Hmm.
He went down. He said that he told the history of being able to see atoms, and you can now see atoms through this magnification thing. And the thing is that, and he told the story, but what I wanted to get at is that when you see it,
Hmm.
like the photograph, it's imagine like little balls aligned and empty space between them.
Yeah.
So the question is, why are they aligned?
Hmm.
Why? And why is there empty space between them? What's keeping them together when there's empty space between them?
Yeah.
Like, why? And so this is going in, and you can keep going in and in and in. And so it's all fantastical in a sense because we don't know,
Hmm.
but just like the time thing, but there is something that we're not aware of.
Well, there's a
There
lot of
is.
things. There's a lot of things like that that we're just not aware of yet. I mean, will we ever solve them all? Maybe, maybe not. Don't know. But um, if you, I was going to go somewhere with this. then I can't. Oh my God, I hate it when that happens. My train of thought just said, "Yeah, nope, leaving this station." Toot toot, and off we went.
Yeah.
Um,
There's a lot of
Never
things
mind.
we don't know, you said.
Yeah, there are a lot of
And that
things we
would,
don't know. There's a lot of things we don't understand. And you were talking about time, relativity, and it brought something to mind, and it's gone. Never mind. So, hello, my baby. Hello, my darling. My little ragtime. Yeah, I just
it
threw a.
vanished into the space between
Yeah. Oh, that's what it was. The talking about the space in between,
yeah,
and how does that all stay together? And we just don't know how that works. We don't know why it works. We just know that it does. And that's some people just don't like that answer. And we need minds like that because that's how we find answers. It Answers aren't found by people who are satisfied. Answers are found by people who aren't satisfied and need to dig.
right.
And so we need those kinds of minds.
I agree. We need all those kind of people. But there's a caveat to that. Some people will take things that could be harmful for other people that unbeknownst to them,
Mm-hmm.
and they'll introduce that into the broader population and create
Mm-hmm.
un, un, it could create violations of people's autonomy as individuals.
Mm-hmm.
So there's a balance. I'm saying, like, with I guess with great power comes great responsibility. You
Yeah.
know that saying, that
Yeah.
Superman saying.
Yeah. Well, but that also comes back to, like, for instance, they have the Hippocratic Oath if you're a doctor. First, do no harm.
Right.
You know. But we get, oh, Steve's back. Time is a man made construct. Some aspects of time are a man made construct. I agree. And here's a pet peeve of mine, okay? We know how long a day is. A day is plus or minus right around 24 hours. It's not 24 hours exactly, but it's close. Um, we know how long a week is. A week is 7 days. We know how long a year is. It's 12 months. But we haven't decided what a month is. Could be 28 days, could be 30 days, could be 31 days. So, what the hell? Why can't we come up with a calendar that works, that doesn't involve something arbitrary like that? You
Don't they
know?
do that so that it aligns with, like, I guess, leap years or something? Or is
Well,
there?
they use a leap year in there to kind of make up for that shortage. Every 4 years we'll put another day in, and that counts for it not quite being 24 hours a day. You know, to kind of balance things out. But there's got to be a way to make the months a knowable, predictable number of days.
Well, let me vamp off of this one thing. So,
Yeah.
and this is not going to end, uh,
Mm-hmm.
um, not well, but it's not going to end resolved. But just the same, considering this question of time existing and it being a construct of this, um, you're always in the now,
Mm-hmm.
always, in terms of your focus point of consciousness of as an observer of the world around you. You when you stub your foot, you feel it in the now. You don't feel the stub of foot that happened before, or a future stub, hit to the big toe in the future. You feel the now. As far as we know, in our now,
Yes.
there's a nowness occurring.
Mm-hmm.
But we also have this thing where one action or one series of observations or behaviors, interactions happens, and then something else happens. So we have one thing
Yeah.
following the other.
Yeah, a cause and effect type of a situation. Right.
Yeah, I just said something, you said something, and now I'm saying something again. Those three things. So now we order that, and one thing came after the other, and so appears a timeline, what we call a timeline. He spoke, I spoke, you spoke, me, and then we have future. Un so we're here right now, and the future, we expect the next moment to proceed,
Hmm.
just like it's happened in the past. Um, but we don't know that.
Right.
We absolutely don't. We expect it, we assume it, but we
Hmm.
don't know it. And then we have things that, um, in a couple of sun moon cycles, I'll be at the store or I'll be at that meeting, and so we plan for that. And so here
Hmm.
arises Steve's time construct. We've created a system of measuring one
Right.
thing coming after the other. So in that sense, it's a construct because we've built that. But there's also something happening. I gave an option with that VHS tape, but there's also something happening where, in reality, as far as we can tell, yes, we're in the now, but there were moments before that, and we can account for them. We can measure them.
Hmm.
Um, so there's something going on that we just don't know, like you hinted at, you know. But time isn't just, oh, it's just time. No,
Well,
time
but
is a mystery.
if you take a timeline for most things, you speak for 1 minute, and then I speak for 1 minute, and those can be interchangeable. It can happen anywhere along a timeline. You can speak for 1 minute 10 minutes from now, or you could have spoken for 1 minute 10 minutes ago.
We can rearrange
And
that.
we can, they're interchangeable. But if I throw something in the garbage can, it can't hit the garbage can until I throw it. So those two can't be changed. Okay? I guess that's where it comes into getting into relativity and what have you. These things are tied together because one can't happen without the other.
Yeah, action and the consequence of it.
Right. So, um, it when it comes to time being a man-made construct, there is a certain aspect of that, yes, but certain things are tied together. We don't know how it works. We just know that it does.
Yeah, there's an actual phenomenon that's happening,
Hmm.
that we're in the now. This is absolutely, as far as we can tell. See, look, absolutely, but absolutely has the caveat of as far as we
As
can
far
tell.
as we can tell, yeah,
It's un-
because we just don't know.
it's unfortunate, but that's a now. Here's the thing: there's a phenomenon where it's like what you said. You have an action that results in a result.
Hmm.
One thing has to initiate for the other to
Right.
happen, which is you
Hmm.
launching the piece of paper into the wastebasket. And but this phenomenon is named
Hmm.
and constructed by human beings in order to understand it. So
Hmm.
Steve is correct in that the naming of it and the observe and like the
Hmm.
plotting it, it's a construct. We
Yes.
don't really know. We know one thing goes after the other, and we know the sun and moon
Hmm.
rotate. So we
Right.
call the days, and then we get as we
Hmm.
go, we get older.
Hmm.
This hair grows and such. Um, but we're in the dark about this,
Hmm.
in a sense. And it's not just like when somebody says, "Oh, do you have the time?" Generally, we don't talk the way we're talking here. We'll say, "Oh, yes,"
Right. Sure.
and we'll accept it. But
Hmm.
this is something that we all agree upon. But like you said, why don't we choose the dates so they make sense for the month
Well,
in you know
you've heard how you've heard your entire life how many weeks in a month? Four
how
four
many
weeks 4 weeks in a month, right?
4 weeks in a month, and it's about
Right.
30, 29, 28 to 30 day or 31 day,
Okay.
28 to 30 day.
Okay. But
Okay.
all right. But let's think of that. There's 4 weeks in a month. There's 12 months in a year. 12 times 4 is 48. But there's 52 weeks in a year. The difference is that is 4. So if we go by the 4 weeks in a month thing, there's actually 13 months in a year. See what I'm getting at? We got to nail down what a month is.
Yeah, there is days being shifted and this, that, and the other in this situation. So how accurate is it? And if it's
uh, Steve says, if time was real, how come you both don't go live at the same time? Relativity, my good man.
what does he mean by that?
How come we both don't go live at the same time? I go live at 6:30 in the evening. You go live at 9:30 in the evening.
Because it's
That's
relative.
that's where relativity comes in. The
Is that what he
time is,
said?
yeah. Now, my answer to that is it's relative. If time was real, how come you both don't go live at the same time? Our clocks have different readings because we're in different time zones.
Well, here's a controversy
Mm-hmm.
on the same exact line that you guys are talking about.
Mm-hmm.
And this is controversial. Bad is relative. If time is relative,
Mm-hmm.
and it is, as far as we can tell, then bad and good and happy and anything else you want to toss in there is relative. And I'll make my example. A bad act that we call bad,
Mm-hmm.
from our position, we can assure based on that was a nasty behavior that they did to
Mm-hmm.
that poor bank teller, and now they
Yeah.
whatever. Um, but for the people that benefited from that act, they might say, well, they might say this is we did bad, but boy, it's good. Um, the action and what we describe is relative. Now, are there universal bads and universal goods?
Yeah.
I believe there are, but how do we evidence that? Um, I can say that all these things are relative because there's wiggle room because of our different vantage points. So from your vantage point, bad may be one thing, and from my vantage point, that one thing we're describing as bad may
Mm-hmm.
not be, maybe not good, but maybe it won't
Mm-hmm.
be as bad. Maybe it'll be, it wasn't nice, but it's not. I wouldn't call it bad. And we start
Yeah.
to parse and nitpick, but we're not nitpicking,
And that's when we get into various degrees.
right? So it's there's a
But
relativity aspect going on with all these.
true. But I think that they're both required because, for instance, you can't know what good is without bad, without evil. You can't know what dark is without light. And you can't know what light is unless you have dark to compare it to.
And all that is
So
true. And
there are varying degrees until you get to a certain point. Because once it's absolutely dark, you can't make it darker. Once there's light, you can't make it lighter.
right.
So
So
and there are varying degrees in between.
so that is so that is true. There's this thing, dark and light, sunlight and complete pitch dark. Um, it would be a difficult sell for a
Mm-hmm.
person standing in the dark
Mm-hmm.
to say, I disagree with all of you people,
Mm-hmm.
because in fact, even though you say we're sitting in pitch darkness, I'm going to go ahead and do the contrarian thing. I'm going to tell you that no, it's freaking daylight. Um, Now, here's the problem. Um, if you look at phenomenon,
Mm-hmm.
natural phenomenon, day and night,
Okay.
there is to us a universal thing going on in terms of
Mm-hmm.
Mark Lindsay, Steve Neal, and I, everybody else. can witness lightning strike, can witness, and it's something that's. But when it comes to values or the world of good and bad, it's
Hmm.
different than these these natural phenomena, because
Hmm.
good can be tucked away in secret, just like bad.
Yeah.
Good and bad can be revealed to one person, benefit the next, harm the other.
Hmm.
The degrees of which could vary, and so what happens
Sure.
is that it enters the world of relativity. But if you try to say the same as you did with light and dark, for something such as bad and good, you're going to run into what do you call it? Philosophical problems,
Right.
because people will press the issue
And
about why.
that's where we as a society come in, because we can come in as a consensus and we can say this is bad, this is worse, this is worse, this is worse. We can make that decision as a group and decide to live by those rules, which is what we've done basically.
Which is what we've done.
And certain people are just fine to live within those guidelines. But you're always going to have some people who are going to try to push and see, can they get away with this? You know what? I did 50 miles an hour the whole way, and it's all 35-mile-an-hour speed limits. I got away with that. But there's going to be that one time you don't. See, we can push it thinking that we got away with it. It's like everybody driving down the freeway at 70 miles an hour when the speed limit is 65, and the policeman not pulling anybody over because nothing's happening, traffic is moving, there are no issues. Why cause an issue by pulling somebody over and having the rest of traffic panic stop because they see the red and blues? We'll just cruise on along in a safe manner. Um, I think I saw somebody up here. Who was it? Um, oh, come on. Where was it? Somebody said somebody. Oh, man. Somebody was talking about driving 80 miles an hour. Here we go. It was Momo. I'm far quicker than when I was a kid. I think I can handle driving 80 miles an hour and still maintain safety. I have no doubt that you can. We spent 4 years in Germany where going 80 miles an hour, you'll get run over because there are no speed limits on the Autobahns. So I know you can drive safely at 80 miles an hour. I've done it. I've done it faster as well. So while that might seem as an extreme case to us, driving 80 miles an hour, there are states in this country where you get out in the backwoods and there are no speed limits. If you want to do 120, do 120. There's no speed limit. You get into Montana and Wyoming, it's that way. So, um, but is that good or bad? For us, we would think of driving 80 miles an hour as bad. Whereas over in Germany, eh,
It's
no,
relative.
it's fine. I mean, you can't do that in town. You could get out on the autobahns. You can do 80 miles an hour all you want. Go ahead.
There's still regulations in order to keep
Mm-hmm.
a society flowing. But this thing that you said before, where you said we've come to an agreement on these things,
Mm-hmm.
which this is what we have. We've come to agreements, but um, in order to arrive at those agreements,
Mm-hmm.
force, such as the signs that say stop, and the consequences, which is officers with badges and guns,
Mm-hmm.
and jail cells, and so we've built, in order to arrive at that you said, where we've come to this conclusion, we've had to also build a legal and enforcement system,
Mm-hmm.
because in reality, this agreement we've come to is true. As far as I know, the majority agree to it.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but some disagree on certain
Right.
practices and so on. There's a way around that by using the actual law and measures. But the point is that this good and bad
Hmm.
has been arrived at in society, um, directed by this machinery, which is called governments. And
Yeah.
those governments can either be a government that is pretty, pretty um, stringent in
Hmm.
their ways of keeping that together, or they can use other methods like democracy, or democracy based on a constitution, where there's certain basic things that
Yeah.
separate. Like there's all these different things in these
Sure.
societies, um, but um, there is a level of relativity at play, um, going on even at that level. Because if you ask good, um, again, it has to be universal, and that's where it becomes a look. You and I, and all of us out there, likely I can't be in everybody's mind, but I
Hmm.
can speak to you because you can correct me live on
Right.
air. But we obviously we're from the society,
Hmm.
and obviously we have certain backgrounds in the world of, let's call it the history of faith and the history of
Hmm.
legal determinations, and,
Right.
and some cultural overlaps that are pretty significant, and language. So all these similarities push us to have the same conclusions when it comes to what's good and bad. So you
Right.
and I would probably share a laundry list of agreement over, hey, that's good and that's bad.
Right.
Um, but within our society, there's people that would say the opposite in many key areas, and
Sure.
this is the tension that we have in our society. So this thing is, there's points of views, and that's relativity. It's points of
Yes.
views,
Hmm.
um, but we
Opinions on various things. Yes.
but we agree on a little bit of use of force to get some
Well,
stability.
there has to be some regulation. For instance, I mean, I'll go back to traffic and stuff like that. When you get a driver's license, they flat out tell you driving is a privilege. These are the laws. If you break those laws, some of them you might be fined for them if it's deemed heinous enough. If it's
Right.
not, we can revoke that privilege and take your license away. You are entering into the contract. You're entering into a contract with the state. By obtaining that license, you agree to abide by these rules. There are penalties if you break those rules. Just know that. That's the contract you are taking with the government. That I think that's one of the few times where that is basically a contract. I mean, military service is a contract. There may be other cases where you are actually entering into a contract with a governmental agency to do something. And I'm not talking about work related. But you are pledging to behave a certain way. And if you don't behave a certain way, there are penalties for it. And that privilege to drive on the public highways can be taken away.
Yeah, there's tension with that. Some people have thought that because there's people that say the right to travel is should not, because there's a constitutional.
You have every right to travel. You do not have the right to operate a motor vehicle.
Right, but that creates a problem too. It's the same problem as this good and bad, and it's the same problem as well. It gets into interpretations, and it gets into sticky areas. But what I would say about that is that um, it's not just this thing about driving.
Mm-hmm. Oh, you're right.
We are in we are implicitly connected to the government in virtually every possible way you can think, other than and even then be careful when you're in the John. because the John is connected to the septic, and the septic is connected to
Well, yeah, I was getting ready to say you're paying for that water somewhere. You're
right,
paying for that sewage somehow, that sewage system somehow.
right. So everything
Mm-hmm.
um, is connected to the system that we
Yeah.
exist in. So it's not necessarily even just the traveling; it's like everything.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, we were born. We have that was registered.
Mm-hmm.
So you're identified as, hey, this, that, and the other. On the street, there's people that, what if somebody destroys another person's car and they don't have the proper insurance, and so there's no way to get this person now, like, or to have them pay for the other person's, now, and
Mm-hmm.
there's all sorts of. So this is a construct.
Mm-hmm.
All of it is a construct. There's moral implications and there's
Mm-hmm.
well-being implications, but there's also abuse implications,
Oh,
because
sure.
man is neither all good, all bad. There's always a flux going on with
Sure.
human beings, and the more power you have,
In both directions. In both directions.
good and bad. Some people are
Mm-hmm.
pretty rotted to the core. uh,
Exactly. You can be making a 25% profit on everything you sell and not be greedy. You can be making a 1% profit on everything you sell and still be greedy as hell.
right.
So, profit does not equal greed, and there's a sliding scale in there as well. I mean, that's one of those things that's kind of like trying to identify art. I can't I can't define art, but I know it when I see it.
Right,
You
because you
know?
give it that quality. You approve of
Exactly.
it. You approve of it.
And that's where we come back to good and bad. We may not be able to define what's bad, but we know it when we see it. And we may not be able to define good, but we know it when we see it. We know when somebody bends down to pet a puppy and goes, "Howdy, pup," we know that's good. And if somebody swings back to kick, we know that's bad. We know it when we see it. But we have to come up with examples like that in order to define it.
Right. So there are universe. There are. A, it's hard for me to say it one way or the other because I have my personal view. Which, if I say it with my personal view, I say, look, there's universals. Period.
Yeah, there are some.
But if I were to not just go with that, which that's my ultimate thing. Like that's what I feel. But if I go to, let's pause and let's consider. That's also part of me.
Mm-hmm.
Then I will dissect and look just to see. I still hold. It's kind of like this. It's kind of like when people say that, oh well, you know, um, these people's faith back in the day. Look at all this chaos and boy and this and that. But now we're here and stuff, and so we're advanced and this that and the other. It, 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 and I would tell people like that yes, you saw certain events, but listen, humanity, the complexity of humanity comes packaged with
Mm-hmm.
that. It comes packaged with people doing business the way they did. It comes packed with people traveling across one way or the other.
Mm-hmm.
It comes packed with shipyards. It comes packed with cityscapes and librarians and stuff. So what I mean is that because we are here because of everything that came before, to signal out something because you don't like it with a totality um,
Yeah.
requires at least, you may not like it, like you may not be a person that likes that
Mm-hmm.
particular structure of
Yeah.
from the past and stuff, and that's fair. You don't like it,
Mm-hmm.
um, but it comes tangled up with everything
Yeah.
else.
It is it's a part of our history. We have to accept it, and we have to use that as a yardstick as to how far have we progressed beyond that, and did we learn anything from that? Did we learn not to do that again? Did we learn you don't do that kind of thing?
Legally, we have all the paperwork that leads up to a betterment,
Mm-hmm.
but population behavioral wise, because there's so many variables and people also
Sure.
have cultural considerations,
Mm-hmm.
things like faith or whatever, they might have strong opinions one way or the other about this, that, and the other. What happens is that we have this legal structure you were talking about that created this, hey, this is good and this is bad, but then we have people with wiggle room like me, um, doing a California stop or
Mm-hmm.
whatever, but maybe it's not a California stop, maybe it's my judgment on this whole group of people practicing this weird
Now,
puzzle making thing or whatever, you know.
let me throw you a, and we need to think about landing the plane here, but let me throw you another variable in with that California stop. It's midnight. It's four-way stop, and you can see there's absolutely no traffic at all. But you're taking somebody to the hospital.
Mhm.
Now is a California stop justified? Now is going through the, maybe you're in a 50-mile-an-hour zone, you slow down to 35, nothing, nobody, go through it. Now is it acceptable? Because you're taking somebody to the emergency room.
Well, I will return that question back to you with some clarification. How much of an emergency is it?
Yeah, we've got to do, yeah, we've got to deal with that as well. Somebody's bleeding. Let's say that.
Like a stuck pig?
Yeah, they're bleeding and you can't stop the bleeding.
I'm not gonna
But
stop.
you're out in the sticks and you can't wait for an ambulance.
I'm sorry, I'm not gonna stop.
Me either.
Right.
Me either. I mean, I have a little bit of personal experience, and I can tell you, if you ever want to get a gas station attendant to move fast, tell him if he doesn't, he's going to deliver a baby, and that boy will put gas in your car faster than you could ever imagine. I'm telling you, they will get up and flat out move because don't nobody want to deliver a baby. But it was my ex-wife in labor that made me think about things like that. Am I going to do 55? Oh, hell no. I'm doing 70 the whole way. And I did. And I didn't see a single cop on the road. And it was like 14 miles to the hospital.
It works that way sometimes.
Yeah, it
But yeah,
does.
yeah. I mean, there's situations where you have to pick from one thing or the other. You
Hmm.
know, I mean,
Yeah.
you can make a situation so uncomfortable no matter what you do
Hmm.
decide
Yeah.
that at that point it's like futile because what are you going to do?
Yeah.
A family of armadillos are standing there having breakfast in the middle of the road,
Yeah.
but you've got someone stuck like a pig next to you, filling up the windshield with blood. What do you do? Do you take the stop sign or do you wait for the armadillos to finish dinner?
Sorry, armadillos. You know.
But you see, like but there's
Yeah.
still I mean,
Yeah. All right, we need to land it, dude.
can't believe you. I can't believe you threw all those armadillos under the bus.
That, literally, it was a greyhound. But that's the answer to the age-old question: why did the chicken cross the road? To prove to the armadillos that it can be done.
All right. All right, guys. We go live every Tuesday at 9:30 Eastern, 6:30 Pacific Coast time here on the Trampled Underfoot podcast show. Your
Because
host,
it's relative.
that's right. But we'll plot a course for the coast, and we'll do so next week at 9:30 Eastern, 6:30 Pacific Coast time. Either way, that's as best of a trajectory as we can offer you.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, we're
Sure, that's
hopeful. We're hopeful. So we also have a Facebook page, and that's Trampled Underfoot Podcast on Facebook. You can catch links that we post on occasion over there, so be sure to check that out related to the topics we talk about. And we also have a website, trampledunderfootpodcast.com, and that's well, past episodes are available over there as well. We're also sponsored by.
Harneilmedia.com. Now, we're not sponsored by harneilmedia.com. That's an inanimate object. That's just, it doesn't even exist. It's on the web, it's in the ether, it's everywhere. Harneil Media is the company. And if you're even toying with the idea of a website, that's the only company I'm ever going to refer you to. Steve is the man, the myth, the legend. You've seen him in the chat. He's a personal friend, and I'm proud to say that. He's also very, very good at what he does. Very good at what he does. So if you're even toying with the idea of a website, maybe you want a web store, maybe you would like to get hooked up with a print on demand company, because maybe you want to design some merch and sell t-shirts, mouse pads, coffee cups, all kinds of nifty stuff. Steve can hook you up with said company. He's very, very reasonably priced, and it's 100% personalized service. So do yourself a favor. Head over to harneilmedia.com. Now, there's a link in the description box to this live stream and every live stream and video on this channel. And it's that way for a reason. That's Harneil Media. It's HARNEAL media.com. Sponsor of Trampled Underfoot Podcast.com.
Sorry. I missed it by just this much.
Yeah.
I was following your pauses, and then instead of I caught the pause, and I said that sounds like the right pause, but there was that one final
Yeah.
sponsor.
One little bit more, just a little bit. You missed it by that much.
Well, guys, we hope you enjoyed the show. Have a great week. Do the things you love. Be safe doing it, and we will catch you next time. Be good. We're out of here.
Arrivederci.